I'm Sandra Begay. I'm the board chairman for the Rainforest UNM Innovations Center. I'm also a former regent for the University of New Mexico. So before the shine goes off when you're in leadership, you try to do as much as you can. And that's where these concepts came about. Where you still have people's attention that can make decisions, that's what you do. I'm just planting those seeds for you. I invite our tribal liaisons to come forward. We have Heather Gomez, Joseph Toledo, Matega Lee, Scott Tafoya, Zachariah Ben. And as they I will give a few remarks because it's been a great 3 years getting to know these tribal liaisons in different venues, celebrating awards, getting together, doing reports, being a part of the larger rainforest forums and venues where they serve on panels. We try to highlight their businesses as best we can overall with UNM Rainforest, but also at UNM itself. It's been a joy and pleasure to be a part of this program, and I think what Cecilia has said is very true. Once a liaison, always a liaison. I really wanted to, you have their pictures and the descriptions of their businesses in your infographic report. So I would like for each of them to briefly introduce themselves, tell their business name, and then I'll ask another question. So we might get the, so you know the name and the face and everybody who's here. We'll start with Scott.
So my name is Scott Tafoya. I'm from Santa Clara Pueblo originally. And the name of my business is Truth Dancer Coaching, which carries a indigenous thought to it as I think about our native dancing and how that relates to leadership. And so basically I work in the area of helping people develop themselves as leaders and learning how to dance well together, dance well by themselves, and even dance well with our Creator.
Thank you. Matega.
I like to stand up. I want to see everybody when I'm talking. My name is Matega Lee, and I am one of the tribal liaisons for the Gallup and further west area that way. If any of you guys are familiar with it, you know that we probably have one of the largest swap meets in all of New Mexico. And we also have the highest grossing Walmart in the nation. So that tells you we're a border town. We got a lot of folks that are out there that are small businesses. We got a lot of tribal community members. So a huge focus of what I do in the work that I do for the liaison team is making sure that those folks that are out there that are selling their goods at the swap meets in Yatahay and Wind Rock and in Gallup have resources and have an understanding of what's available to them and what they can do and how they can scale. And in a recent slide that I did for the Laguna Community Foundation was a good way to put it. Reasons to go legit, you know, because a lot of the times we have a lot of folks that don't want to, they don't really see the benefit of why they should. And then on the other side, I am the executive director for Southwest Native Assets Coalition. And with that coalition, we focus on housing stability, home ownership, financial literacy, and credit counseling. In addition to that, we also added our access to capital, which is lending. Because a lot of the times, just as they had mentioned earlier, we have a lot of our folks that we meet with on a daily basis that can't access traditional lending through the banks. So we have taken an approach to do relationship-based lending and make it more feasible for everybody that we come across. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joseph Toledo. I'm the project manager for Smart Tribe Technologies out in Jemez Springs, a technology manufacturing company. I'm also the owner of Smashing Crispy Burgers, which is a mobile food business that was set up in Albuquerque, sometimes up in Santa Fe, even in Jemez sometimes. And I was born and raised in Los Angeles, actually. I just moved out here to New Mexico about 1.5 years ago. And so just coming straight into the tribal liaison position, really, I was really fortunate to connect with our communities and love doing the work. It's been really, really fulfilling for me to be able to give back to my community and other Native communities. And so that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Heather.
Sanjo, hello everyone. My name is Heather Gomez, and I am Hickory Apache from Dulce, New Mexico. And I own Dulce Base Tippy and Big D Flooring. I've been in business now for 3 years, and I started as a tribal liaison about a year and a half ago, and I've loved it so much. I'm so thankful for meeting Cecilia at an AIBE conference. If I had never met her that day, I wouldn't be standing here today. So thank you. I'm just happy to be here.
Zachariah.
Morning, everybody. My name is Zachariah Ben. I was born and raised in Shiprock, New Mexico as a sixth-generation farmer. I am the owner and co-founder of Bitty Baby Foods. We are one of the first ever indigenous owned and operated traditional baby food making company in the United States. And so with that, we also have a nonprofit called the Ben Initiative. And so that's what allows us to fiscally sponsor other entrepreneurs in our area, farmers, and provide resources to promote horizontal investment and growth economically there in the Shiprock area and Alba Nation area. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Some of you have talked a little bit about why you were a part of the liaison program, but I want you to tell me, what was that spark that made you decide? Because, you know, many of us who have opportunities in front of us don't always have time. A lot of it is commitment to this, buying into the mission. So when somebody approaches you with a new idea, there's got to be a little bit of a spark why you said yes rather than no. And we'll go with Joseph.
Okay, so I've always loved to help people. Even before when I was living in LA, I had a farmers market organization where I was basically doing the same thing as a tribal liaison, helping people start businesses, get their permits, and all that. But I was at an AIBE conference as well, and that's where Cecilia kind of came and talked to me after I was talking on the panel. And I think he just offered me the position, and I wanted to try to make a difference here, and that's what I did. I feel like, and it was I don't know, it was just really fulfilling for me, and I wanted to do something different, and that's what I did.
Thank you, Matega.
Oh, wow. This one is a deep one. I feel as if anytime I come across anybody that I'm working with, I want to make sure that I've impacted change in some way, shape, or form. And that's by either giving them encouragement, hope, and my head is not big for no reason. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. So learning things every day, and just, again, like what Cecilia said earlier, Rich Lewarke is a good teacher in that sense alone, by just his saying alone of leaving the ladder down. I feel like through the years of working in finance, banking, social work, everything that I've done over the years, I've got a lot of information that I would like to share with anybody I come across, just to make sure that we're impacting change on every level. It's easy to talk about what we want to see, but when you step up and step up to that plate and, you know, help that person get to where they need to go, or impact the change that you're talking about, what you want to see, it's has a viable outcome for everybody.
Scott?
Yeah, I was introduced to the opportunity from Cecilia when I was at a Native American Chamber of Commerce meeting, as I've been attending for years. And she approached me with the opportunity to be a liaison, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what? If I do this, I will be able to use a lot of the skills that I've already been acquiring through the years, and I'll be able to actually tap into some of my own journey and experience as an entrepreneur. And so even though I was still on the road to building my own coaching company, I thought this fit. This was a good match. And so that's why I did that. And it's been a good experience for me. It did give me a little bit of income runway for my business. And so I was able to actually step away from my other venture, which was a school bus driver. Okay. And so I was able to step away from that and devote all of my time to building my coaching company, essentially. And really, this kind of work has enabled me to develop relationships with a broad entrepreneurial, native entrepreneurial community around the state. And that has translated into me already doing some additional work with some of those organizations and some of those people. And so I'm excited to be able to continue actually what I'm doing as it's part of what I do as a coach.
Thank you so much.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, you have a lot of opportunities as a business leader to say yes or no to things, but there was a spark that got your interest to say yes to this opportunity. What was that?
Well, I love taking advantage of any opportunity because living on the res, you don't really have that many opportunities. And at the time, I was working for Tribal Tech full-time remotely as a communications specialist. And when Cecilia told me they were hiring for a tribal liaison, I thought, oh, wow, I would love to apply because I love taking advantage of what I can. And I thought it would, be a great opportunity. Being an entrepreneur myself, to help others in my community because I knew that there wasn't a lot of help there personally from my experience. So it was like a perfect fit and I applied and I was so excited when I was hired and I got the congratulations and it's been a great experience so far.
Thank you. Zachariah, what was that spark?
I think the spark was, just going through what you personally experienced and what you navigate as an entrepreneur, especially on tribal trust lands. And, there's no resources, there's no networks that you can easily tap into or that are easily accessible. And I felt like being able to have that type of guidance, just that extra, even just reassurance and saying, you can do this. And so that really started out at a very young age for myself. And being able to understand that, what is it like to own, start, and manage a business? Is that only for people that have degrees? Is that only people that know how to navigate the business world? And so, when we had the birth of our first child, that really set that pathway of, I want to create change because a healthy environment is a healthy environment that my child can thrive with. They can have that abundance, and that's what we can provide as parents, as farmers, and as entrepreneurs. And so that's what really created that spark. And saying yes to this opportunity that came across our desk was amazing because, if not us, then who? And being able to implement that change, implement inspiration, and set that example with, what we've created as entrepreneurs and being able to. And I feel like as a tribal entrepreneur, you are creating opportunity, you are creating investment into your local communities, and most importantly, healing and rebuilding that generational wealth that was severed. And, just becoming from that era of disenfranchisement to then continue into thriving was the ultimate yes. Like, yes, I want to provide this opportunity. I want to share this inspiration and provide opportunity for not only myself, but others that are following, others that are climbing that ladder as well.
Thank you so much. So we had the report and Cecilia went over a lot of the details. The gold in that report is many of us who've been working in Indian country for a long time know the need. And we talk about that more like anecdotal, which means by experience, by what we've heard. What's missing in some of the way we convey besides our own communities to others, to academia, to philanthropy, to federal entities is to document and to make it more analytical. So you have numbers, you have trends, you have data. And that's the joy of that report. It's actually in color and it's printed. There's graphs, there's charts, there's numbers of places, the number of businesses, the type of businesses, all pulled together that many of us who've known this know this at the top of our head. But when you convince somebody, you have that document and you share that with them saying, here's the proof, it's all written down. And in this venue of the Rainforest Board and our dialogue and then looking for funding to do this, this was one of the biggest pieces is who's going to fund this? Finding USDA with an opportunity that didn't quite match, but we made it work for what the need was, because Richard and I know the need, but how to translate that into what Kara and Cecilia wrote to get the funding. But as a liaison, maybe tell me a little bit of maybe the most surprising hindrance for tribes that maybe you have not experienced or a surprise that, oh my God, I thought I was the only one that had this issue. And there's another tribal business that has a similar circumstance. So however you might answer that to me is, we have the data that you've collected and it's part of your experience, but what is that big surprise? Because what I found in conveying this to my board is that they were comparing businesses and entrepreneurs to capitalism. And I said, that's not exactly, I mean, it's good to make money. I had interns over 20 years and I tell them it's okay to make money doing what you're doing, but that's not what drives them. It's community based, it's the social capital, the social growth, making a difference and impact. That's what not everybody understands. And I think that's been a joy of your role, is to be able to talk about that and that experience. So Joseph, maybe that surprise that connected or was something totally different?
I think the main surprise was I feel like a lot of people were not confident yet, and they're kind of like holding themselves back by not having the confidence to go forward in business, and it's intimidating when you live on the reservation so far away, trying to connect into this type of world. It's really difficult. And me growing up in Los Angeles my whole life, I never really had that problem. So moving to the reservation, moving to Jemez and seeing that was, to me, was a pretty big shocker. But I'm glad that there's a position like the Tribal Liaisons, because we can talk to these people one-on-one and really see what's going on in their head and what's holding them back. And of course, money is always a big thing, but there's more than just money that holds them back. And so to me, it was just getting that confidence and encouraging the people to start their business and show them exactly what they need to do. And sometimes it would just be like going over to their house with my computer and helping them fill out an application because they don't even have a computer. And things like that was pretty surprising to me. But I feel like just talking to people one-on-one really helps get their confidence up and motivation to start a business. And that was my big shocker.
Thank you. Take it.
So I'm gonna go and revert back to some of what Zach said and also what you just said. A lot of these tribal community members that we're serving, I think that being an individual that is living there in the community and sees exactly what's unfolding on a day-to-day basis, and not just that, but being Native American and knowing what the generations before us have dealt with and knowing what the decades before us have dealt with, and trying to bring that change to all of the systemic trauma and the traumas that these families have when it comes to money, finances, and ownership. There's a lot of asset and wealth building strategies that are in tribal communities. So I think helping tribal community members how to understand how to bridge that is beautiful, because a lot of the times when you sit down with them and you let them know that their ability to cultivate is an asset building strategy, their ability to speak their native tongue, their ability to engage with making their sales and still making an income and a revenue based off of what we can't buy at Walmart, which is stir sticks, juniper ash, or anything that we need in our tribal communities. So it's just letting them know, that resilience is not loud, it's felt. And it's a silent fire. So, just kind of giving them that hope, guidance, and resorting back to, our partners and allies that are out there that are already doing the work, and UNM Rainforest Innovations program being one of them, the TEEP program, and all of our other partners, such as we've got Vanessa Roanhorse in the back, who actually, referred me to UNM to be a liaison and to be a mentor at one point, and all of our other organizations that are grassroots. So I'll just close with that.
Thank you. Scott?
Well, one of the things that comes to my mind is, as I've had the opportunity to travel around a little bit, and Cecilia's talked about how we didn't have enough funds for all the traveling that needed to be done, because again, we need those local representatives. But as I've traveled around, I've just been surprised at the number and the variety of Native entrepreneurs that are out there already. met a gentleman up in Dulce who was teaching his kids and his grandkids how to invest in gold and silver. Met a gentleman up in Laguna who was doing rain tanned deer hides and selling them online. So just a variety of different people that were doing their own thing. And of course, many of our artisans are out there already. I come from a family of potters from Santa Clara that are masters in terms of being entrepreneurs. So we have our artisans that are out there, but I've just been surprised as I've done the work of how many entrepreneurs that are out there. But then I've also been surprised or affirmed in the sense that a lot of them are struggling with the same things that I struggle with as a business owner, moving forward in my business, making the decisions on a consistent basis that I need to make so that I'm moving my business forward, so that I'm growing it, so that I'm making it stronger, more stable, and they're facing the same challenges. Sometimes they're not taking the actions that they need to. You know, sometimes they need some clarity. Sometimes they need some accountability. Sometimes they need somebody to brainstorm with them about what works best for them. And then connecting them to some other resources at times as well. And so those are some things that I've discovered and been sort of surprised with.
Thank you. Heather, surprises, or maybe something that you related to, you didn't even know somebody else shared.
I was surprised to learn how many entrepreneurs we have locally in Dulce, but they did not know of any resources. They didn't know how to really run their business the correct way. Like taxes was a big thing. Funding, having a business bank account, no one really knew about that. And I like how I came in and I kind of started like a sense of community with the people who did come. There are so many other people that I invited and they never showed up, they never responded to me, but I tried, my best. And even with the people who came, like a lot of them, I had seen them before, but I never really talked to them very much. So I got to know them more on a personal level and learn about their business, and then just show them that I'm here to like support them and share resources. I want to see other Hickory Apache entrepreneurs out there be successful because, to be honest, we don't really have very many. So that was very important. And to me, I've always wanted to help people. I've always had that kind of spirit where I like to help people in any way that I can. And that meant a lot to me. So I know that there's still a lot more work to do. And I'm like happy to be in this position now with Wes to continue doing work. But I think, yeah, it's surprising how many people just don't know where to start. They don't know where to go. They don't feel supported even by their tribal leadership at times, or, there might not be an economic department, might not be a business department. And I'm just thankful too for like all the other programs that I had. Thankfully, like virtually, that was big for me, but I found out too in Dulce's, there's a lot of people who don't know how to use Zoom. And they're not comfortable being virtual. They like, being in person. So those are other things to consider too when you're in a rural and tribal community.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise, which was also a very great relief, is as Indigenous business owners, entrepreneurs, we're very cognitive on our environmental impacts that we're having, right? So we're very understanding socially and environmentally of how much our business can impact our communities. So within that, when you're starting a business, it's not about how much revenue it's gonna or how much profit you make at the end of the year. It's how much impact you have in your community, how much healing you can promote using your business. And so with that, for us as entrepreneurs, working in tribal communities, it's not about a return of investment, it's about a return of impact. And how much we're able to create opportunity for not only ourselves as individuals, but our family. Building generational wealth for our family to inherit that generational wealth, not inherit the systemic or intergenerational traumas that have been passed down, but being able to now break that and continue to create new cycles. And that's what I feel like, is having that social ROI. And that was the big surprise. Because all of our entrepreneurs that we worked with, they're not in it to get rich quick. They're in it to ensure that their community inherits something other than trauma. And that was the healing.
Impactful, ROI, return on it, and what's impactful to the communities. I've got a couple more questions, but I'll ask this next one and then I'll open it up to our audience because you've got a unique opportunity with this stellar group of entrepreneurs and liaisons. I wanted to use this next question for you to think about what's something new that you're working on. If you want to make it as an announcement or you've got something upcoming, did you win a recent award? All of these things I think are helpful for us to know so we can continue championing you and your careers and your businesses, but we need to be in the know. What's the news with your business?
Okay. So I have a couple different businesses. Smart Tribe Technology has been the main one that I've been really pushing for the last year or so. Working with Apex accelerators, working to get government contracts, talking to different companies, going to the RES conference, and talking to different primary contractors. Was all a little intimidating at first, but I feel like now that I've been doing it for so long, I'm kind of getting the hang of it, knowing who to talk to, what resources to use. It's been really big. And then being able to share those resources with other entrepreneurs that want to know how to, start their business and go through SAMS.gov and all that different stuff. That's been like a real big thing for me, is just learning how to navigate through that. I would say that for sure.
You have a mobile sale coming up?
Oh yeah. Tomorrow I'll be at Bow and Arrow Brewery. Then this Sunday we'll be at the Nijoni Days Powwow, which is going to be at the Johnson Field. And that's going to be from, I think, 12 to 5 p.m. Last year we did that one as well. And it was a big one. I think we did like 700 burgers or something like that. So I've been prepping pretty much all week for that event. And so that's going to be really big this Sunday. If anyone's available, you guys should come check it out. It's a free powwow. And there's also community feed too, about 5 o'clock. So.
Just so you know, I'm an old alumni at UNM. Back in the day, I learned to make fried bread at the Nijoni Days. And out of dough. So you couldn't sell anything.
Making it right there.
Yeah. Gathering of Nations is coming up. I think there's just so many community activities. Matega, you just won an award.
Yeah, I did. The 2025 Women of Influence Award for the state of New Mexico. Big head, and it's for a reason. But in addition to that, I am a part of my local Rotary. I'm a part of our local Seroptimus International. And I like to give. I like to give back to the community. I like to give back in general to folks, whether it's just talking to them, advice, anything like that. On my own, I do a lot of consulting with individuals. I practice lay counsel for tribal communities, so a lot of folks can't afford an attorney. So their next best option is to get some insight. I'm really good at guiding people through civil litigation and whatnot. So that's just a lived experience. Anybody in need, any and everything, I try to find solutions for everybody. And if there's not a solution that I have, I'm really good at trying to help them find that solution. And then I prepare taxes and help businesses on the side when I'm on my own free time, something that is separate from the liaison position and something that is separate from what I do for the coalition. On the coalition side, one of the exciting things that we are gearing towards is becoming a native CDFI. So we're going to be able to expand the funding that we're able to offer tribal communities. So that's something that's exciting, and then just branching off and continuing to work with other Native-led organizations and coalitions through the state of New Mexico and Arizona, and bridging that gap any way we can for everything that we do offer. And then with UNM, just continuing to be a partner with them, whether that's a thought partner or a partner for leadership and liaison work and mentoring.
Thank you. Scott, what's new?
I've got a lot of different things going on right now. Got I did a webinar a few weeks back that's going to hopefully lead to some additional work. I did a 2-hour workshop for another organization in the state that's hopefully going to lead to some other work as well. I've been doing some work with the Laguna Community Foundation a little bit, and glad for their openness and willingness to receive some of my help and resources. So I've got a lot of different things going. I do continue to do work within our churches as well, helping with their leadership development as well within our indigenous churches around the state. And so I'm doing that. So I've got a lot of things going on. But a couple of things that are going on right now is I'm starting a 10-week group coaching experience that's going to be focused on leadership, and it's open to leaders at different levels from across the state. It'll be virtual. And so if you're interested or know of anybody that might be interested in participating in that kind of experience, that kind of a growth opportunity for their leadership, that opportunity will be starting up here in the next number of weeks, I think the first week of June. Another thing that I'm able to do, because I'm connected with John Maxwell. He has a team of coaches and speakers and teachers that are literally worldwide. And so I was actually one of the first, I think, indigenous people to join his team of coaches and speakers. I'm a founding member. And so because of that relationship, I have access to resources. And one of the things that we do is we do a simulcast once a year. It's called Live to Lead. And so I have signed up to do that again this year, and looking forward to providing that to the public, as well as maybe even coming into individual organizations with some of that content as well, if people are interested in that. So that's what I've got going on.
Thank you, Scott. Heather, what's going on with you that's new?
A lot. So
I can imagine.
I'll start with Big D flooring first. We did get accepted for the Mexico Star Accelerator program. So excited to start that in May. And then with, I think it's NCAI, they have that Access to Capital program coming up, and Big D flooring was accepted for that too, coming up in May. And then also I wanted to mention that we do hope to start like a Hickory Apache apprentice program to teach young Hickory adults ages 17 to 24 flooring skills. Hopefully we'll have support with Hickory leadership, and we do have a Hickory council member here in the back, so hint, hint. But yeah, Hickory flooring, we're just, just trying to get as many jobs as we can. Working on that. And then with Dulce Base to Be, I am in the guerrilla marketing boot camp for that. I am like 3 weeks in the cohort. It's been really amazing. I'm like learning so much. I love like networking with other businesses, so it's been really great. And we are hoping to open up like early June. Some of our fences fell down on our locations. We have repairs to make. Last year a tippy tore, so we have to make. We have to get a new tippy. Some poles broke. There's been a lot going on there, but hopefully everything will work out, and we'll be back taking bookings early June. And I did want to mention too, I am starting to do some like Airbnb webinars with IDRS Acorn Project. I actually will be doing my first Airbnb webinar next week for the Navajo Nation's Economic Department, like an intro to Airbnb. And then starting in May, I'll have 1 to 2 Airbnb webinars online through IDRS Acorn Project. So I think that's everything. I probably forgot something, but yeah.
Thank you. That's a lot going on. Zachariah, what's new?
Yeah, a lot of exciting things. Just 2 days ago, I was up at the Navajo Nation Economic Summit where the Navajo Nation president signed off on our business site lease. So that's approved. That's located in Shiprock. So with that securement of the business site lease, we plan to build out starting modular. So starting to build out a facility around food manufacturing there and aggregate agricultural value-added products out of Shiprock and distribute that. So we're really excited for the opportunity. And from there, the other thing that we have is we're starting our second year cohort for our farmer in residence program. So we're really excited to kick things off with a greenhouse build that we're now finishing up this week. It's a 100-foot long, 30-foot wide, 12-foot high greenhouse that we plan to partner now with Sandia Labs, Sandra, and do it. They're going to come on out and do a solar audit, so that way we can outfit not only just the farm and our operations there using solar energy, but also the facility that we'll be setting up and making everything totally off-grid and sustainable in that way. So those are the three major things that we're really excited about. We also did a whole new, I guess you could say, rebrand this past winter. So we're really excited to introduce new products, new labeling, new packaging. Really excited about the opportunity to have a QR sticker in the back where when you scan that, you instantly go into a video that shows the Navajo and English translation of what the product is and how it's created and the cultural stories that are tied into the development of that product. So, very exciting things. And of course, we're really excited to see our children grow and thrive on the farm. We have a 19-month-old daughter, a 4-year-old son. So it's always amazing to see them a part of that journey. And those are always exciting new ventures every day. So, we're really excited to, again, just continue to promote generational wealth, horizontal investment, and most importantly, building up entrepreneurship here in the state of New Mexico.
Thank you. And just a plug for those of you out there. The state of New Mexico allows Sandia Labs and Los Alamos Labs to provide technical assistance to New Mexico small businesses. So if you have a technical question that you'd like to have researched and get you a report that might help your business grow, contact me, because that's, for me, new work in lieu of all the federal pauses and stops and all of that. That's why it was great for Zachariah and Mary to say yes to an energy audit of their farm, what they're going to do now, but also their future uses for electricity, so that audit, that assessment can then be used for them to get a grant for solar panels. So there's stages that we go through. So be sure and get with me if you're interested in that program. We have about 10 minutes that I'd love to open up to people who have a question for any of the liaisons. And if you have a specific liaison, maybe the question addressed directly to them. And the room is a little bit big, so you may have to talk a little louder. Yes.
Thank you for being here today. Very interesting. I'm Sabrina Ezel. I'm the chancellor at the University of New Mexico branch in Gallup. And I'm really happy to be here today learning from each of you. I have a question about SPDC relationships with the liaison. And there may be an SPDC person here, but I'm just curious if there is any collaboration between SPDC liaisons.
I have had future SPDC relationships with individuals back in Gallup, but we do resource a lot of our clients to the SBA and SPDC for what we know or what I myself have come to understand from what resources they offer. SSBCI, what funding the Navajo Nation has right now, is one of the main resources that we help individuals explore, but I'm pretty sure that if it's something it's on, I could research more and be glad to be a resource to you.
Great, thank you very much.
And I am in the Gallup area, so if you look at the report, a lot of the impact that we did have was in the Gallup area. So if anybody has any questions about the Gallup area, I can share my card with you.
Great, thank you. And a plug, I got my start at UNM Gallup Ranch. I took every class I could, stayed in Gallup as long as I could before I had to come to Albuquerque. I love our branch campuses at UNM. Other questions?
And just to add back to that, Southwest Native Assets Coalition does host financial literacy and credit counseling classes there at UNM twice a month.
Wonderful. Oh, yes.
Yes, first of all, big ups to each and every one of you. You're very inspiring. I've seen you in action, whether it's on social media or in person. So special shout out to Maitega and Scott for participating in our past gatherings. Heather, you mentioned, and this is, I guess, Joseph and Heather, you mentioned that you have a resource when you started in the liaison position. Sometimes when you have a resource, a lot of people don't jump to it right away. So you mentioned that you put out the invitation, but you got some people who took the bite. And Joseph, you said in your community that people didn't have that confidence to move forward. What was your secret sauce in regard to people biting? When did you know that you had that? You had people on the line and you're real in the middle.
I think just when they first came in and, making sure to go up to them and greet them and make them feel welcomed and be like, I can't wait to see you at the next event. I hope you show up, and just keep checking in on them, like making sure like, hey, I'm here. I want to know what you're doing. And for the people who didn't show up, I mean, I would on social media, just like reach out in a message and invite them and just keep posting about it. I'm like, I know you see my post out there, and I don't know, people have different reasons for not showing up, but I think just keep on them all the time, and before you know it, they're like, okay, I'm coming. So.
Ortega and I were just talking about it. I think food. Pretty much everything that every event that I've had in Jemez or we've done, and even before moving here, I had my smash burger business in LA. And so a lot of people just knew me as the burger guy. They still call me Smash Burger in Jemez. And I think that sense of community, and it's kind of part of our culture, is we always sit down and eat, and just kind of making people feel more comfortable around me. I was the new guy in Jemez, and so a lot of people had a lot of questions for me. And I mean, when I first started, I first went out and was able to cater to our tribal council, but there was like a lot of the sheriff aides and the sheriffs, they were left out. And so after we were done, I was like, come over to my house, we'll eat, And so just having people over and just kind of really being there and being present, I just, maybe a smile too, I don't know. I was just able to hook them in and bring them in and do a couple of classes there. And that's what I think.
I always joke and I say that in tribal communities, an oatmeal cookie and a cup of coffee goes a long way. Because a lot of folks are really familiar with oatmeal cookies. That was just a way of starting off the conversation. Everybody had oatmeal cookies. And then for Southwest Native Assets Coalition, what we do is we have gift cards. They're like $5, $10, $15, some 25, 30 if we get some organizations that send us gift cards to give out. The reason being is that we have a lot of folks, again, in tribal communities, you're having to drive 45 minutes to 2 hours to get to any resource you need. So if there's any kind of incentivization for them to come and participate in that event, it's always good. So a lot of the times, gas cards, like we're offering a $10 or $15 gas card, or, just something small, a raffle to give away.
We have time for one last question if it's out there. Yes.
In the earlier presentation, I noticed that there was a statement concerning interacting with tribal government. I was just wondering from the panelists if there's comments on how they see that developing or how that can be implemented within the tribal communities.
I think that for my personal experience, I've made multiple attempts to work with our Navajo Nation leadership on a lot of issues. But depending on whether or not that's a priority, they may or may not prioritize getting back to you. So I've figured that the simple approach is, again, going back to what I've always said and what my thought process is that you can't wait for somebody to be the solution. And if you want to bring change in the community, you have to, get up and do it. So I think that even aside from working with tribal leadership, if you just do the outreach events and show up and continue to let your tribal community members know that you're present, even if leadership is not participating in what you're doing, that you're still going to be there. I think it's important, but I just don't think that sometimes the receptiveness with leadership is always there because of other priorities they have.
I think for me personally, when in doubt, don't wait on tribal government. That's what I've learned instantly. And so with that, you know, for us and as entrepreneurs in general, like you cannot wait. You got an idea, you need access to resources. What does that look like? And so we've relied heavily on UNM, their resources and how we've been able to network, the state of New Mexico and local government. Shiprock RBDO was the one that really pushed for our business site to be approved through Window Rock. So it took 1.5 years, but that's a new record, I guess you could say, in terms of approval for a business site lease. So, you know, just having to navigate a lot of that, you know, it's funny too, because as soon as you start making relationships and start building that connection, then the new administration is then voted in. So that's kind of just the unfortunate parts of it, but it's really just building up that SBA of like Small Business Association. What would that look like in tribal nations? And so that's something that, you know, as we continue to work around building up more entrepreneurs, we're building up our own community, and that's what we'll be able to then use to create momentum in tribal government.
I think one other piece I'll add to that is sometimes you want to give a leader an opportunity for a good photo shoot. So grand openings and all of that, that's great for them. But on the side, you say, who's your staff member that I need to connect with? And I've had more relationships with tribal staff over long periods of time because they are at that job and they're going to continue that for their career. They don't necessarily change with administration. And so you need that longevity of the staff who's going to help you push your paperwork through at the appropriate time, because that always helps in some of the bureaucracy that you can see in tribal government, that you acknowledge the leader and give them one opportunity to acknowledge the happiness and the opening, but the details are with the staff.
I just a follow-up on that. So on the panelists, I just want to understand, so do you see a value in establishing a department like you just spoke to within tribal government that specifically is helping Native entrepreneurs within the area or within their community? Would that be beneficial to the liaison work that you guys are doing?
I think it's a yes across the board, because there's again, we go back to that same topic that there's a lot of folks that are out there that don't have access to a smartphone or smartphone capabilities. They don't have access to a laptop or a computer. And a lot of times, even when they're going to their local chapter houses, there's limitations as to what they can do with a computer or what resources they're willing to offer them. So there are a lot of hubs that are out there, such as, you know, UNM and Workforce Solutions, that have technology for them. But is an individual really going to take maybe $40, $50 to pay for fuel to get to a border town to do some research on what they want to do when the resource is not exactly available for them, or they don't have a starting point of where to go? So if you're grassrooting, like what we do is meeting people where they're at is probably the best thing that we could do as liaisons. And I think that it would be really beneficial for every tribal community if they could to take that business model that Cecilia shared earlier and use that as a way to grow their community and allow other liaisons to get out there and to do that much needed work with the grassroots approach of meeting folks where they're at and then building that trust so that folks can trust whoever you guys have out in the communities doing that work.
Thank you so much. It's time for lunch, as we do with Native celebrations. You got to go to the table, get something to eat. But if you could bring it back in here, we're going to have our panel start in about 15 minutes. So feel free to eat and listen to the panel, but lunch is being served now.